Dear colleagues in Longchamp, I'm very sorry, but I couldn't come because on the same time when you are watching my presentation, I'm at the Ministry of Education in Bratislava because we speak about quality of education. And the subject of my speech also addresses this. Its title is Knowledge of University Knowledge Workers, and it speaks what sort of knowledge should be presented at universities. In fact, I will ask several questions about the role of academicians and different positions which require different knowledge and skills. First question, which is quite obvious, is what are differences between different types of knowledge, why and who need them and when, and finally, what categories of knowledge workers we can recognize, because we would like to invite to university people who can effectively execute their functions. In general, when we speak about knowledge, we can speak about two categories. There are plenty categorization, but I like this one for this purpose. Book smart and street smart. In general, we say people at universities must be book smart, so they have to have systematic, well-organized, deep knowledge. On the other hand, street smart means that those people are very practical, their intelligence is coming from contacts with people, and they tend to be impromptu, not very perfect, but what they can do, they are ready to take risks, which is not typical feature of academicians. And there is such a Finland's researcher named Peter Kess organized such a typology of knowledge workers, and he speaks about different categories which they need internal or explicit knowledge, and external, which means more tacit knowledge coming from outside. And those people at this edge are and must be book smart. People on this edge are coming from streets. They must be, and I will say more about their characteristics. Gurus are typical researchers. They have deep, explicit knowledge, but in very narrow field. And they only are expected to know this very narrow field. They can solve these problems, but very often they have problems in understanding what is coming around. The second group are coaches. Coach is a typical university educator, the person which must be good in some specific field, but also has to know how to transfer this knowledge to other people. Then there is a person which may be called angel or facilitator. So this is person who brings money and a good organization to the work of others, which means they are taking care about working conditions, about qualification of people, about setting right people to the right positions, and so on and so on. This person is very imaginative in workload distribution. He or she knows whom to assign to which function, when, and for how long period. Then there is someone who is called mentor, who is sort of organizer, but from different perspective, from more academic perspective and long-term perspective. A typical example could be a department head. Department head should be a person who has very long and successful experience in some field. He or she knows where the field will go. He even may set up trends, but in principle, he or she cooperates with angels on organizing and sponsoring, but in particular for academic point of view, because university is here for future academic development. Then, there is someone who is called father. Father is sort of mentor, but even with much more general perspective. So, it's something we could call a head of academic school. So, a big movement at university which follows certain directions, organizes, accommodate the conditions of people, sends them abroad to learn more, and so on, and invite them, someone who people will visit because they wanna be with him or her. And finally, there is someone who is called politician. This is a person even with even broader perspective, and extreme case in this street smart knowledge, which means that he can generate long-term visions, he can attract people to the institution, but in principle he is a community leader or rector or dean, someone who is not involved directly in the research, which is very strange. For example, in Slovakia we expect that the people who is guru suddenly will become a rector, a politician. But from one person we expect very narrow, very specific knowledge, like in history or geology or social sciences, and suddenly this person should invite and guide people from all fields of knowledge, which is a bit strange, yeah? And also this person should serve as an example of excellence, not in the particular field, but because he or she is capable to guide the organization for its future development. So, let's briefly map situation in Slovakia. First, gurus. Gurus are here. They are quite good. The only because our university regulations value gurus well and high. The problem is that when we look to coaches, which mean university teachers, they are not valued so much. So there is a big gap between value of coaches and value of gurus. And this creates a disproportion because everyone wants to be guru and no one wants to be coach, which means university teacher. Facilitators practically do not exist. There are very few cases when people are coming and saying, okay, here you have capacity, here you have people and money, start working. I haven't witnessed such a case. Mentor, there is a mixed picture, because if he only guides people, then yes, naturally such people exist. On the other hand, if they don't lead people from their position, no one cares. So to be a mentor, to be a ruler or guide in a certain community depends strongly on the personality of the individual. It shouldn't happen. Yeah? Those people should be invited to those positions because they are capable of being leaders. Similarly, it happens with fathers, which are in fact extinct species, because there are no long-term perspectives. For example, grant schemes are short-term and you never know whether you will get a grant financing in future. So you work from one project to another project in a very short period without any longer perspective. And finally, politicians naturally formally exist. The university must have a rector or a dean. But the problem is, that those people are usually elected from bottom up. So if you have a good group of people, they will select a good one. But if they are lazy, they will select the laziest of all. So what we see, there are plenty vacancies in this scheme. The structure of universities is very, very undesired, and there are plenty of knowledge workers which are missing. Unless it changes, unless we start value people who are working for universities, it will never change. So, if I can wish you work in Lomža to create such a structure. Thank you for your attention and have a nice day.